something that is very, I don't know how to put it. It's very serious, and because lives have been lost. People have lost their livelihood. In houses, in residential houses that have collapsed, and the cases have been on the rise. We've had I think in a span of like 2-3 weeks, we've had like 3 buildings collapsing. One in Kasarani, one in Sijui Ruaka, the other one in Kiambu. And it's very alarming. Yeah. And we're just saying earlier on with movie that I think mvua ndo imeanza ime reveal that kuna zile buildings ambazo they're not very strong, they're not well structured, if I would say. So maybe you can just tell us, of course maybe si tutasema simiti ilikuwa counterfeit, sijui nini ilifanywa and all this, but what are some of the things that one person needs to look at before they even think of constructing a residential or maybe a building, any other building?
Well, first of all, I think I can start with reasons as to why maybe some of these buildings are collapsing.
Yes.
And I can narrow them to like 7 pointers.
Where?
There are a couple.
Remove to any notebooks, tafadhali. No, nile siku.
Remove them. I can take you through like 7 pointers. Where the first one, we have poor structural design, where this is caused by errors during the design stage, maybe due to lack of accurate data of the site itself. Then the second one, we have poor compliance with the drawings and engineer specifications. This is where the drawing specifications are not done as per the way they should have been done on site. Maybe the client or the foreman starts thinking of, let me just do my own things, or let me know, or maybe this guy is maybe what he said in the drawings. Bana, let me just do something else. Then another thing is use of substandard building materials.
Correct.
That is maybe use of substandard steel, concrete, because you find there are others that are poor quality or lower quality.
Yes.
Another reason is maybe inadequate supervision during construction, where in construction you need the architect and the structural engineer to be there to supervise maybe the formwork, the concrete vibration of concrete and fixing of reinforcement. But then you find the client, they only consult this architect and the structural engineers during the design phase only.
Yes.
Then when it comes to constructing itself, wanawaacha, then they just now go
focus on
now with the foreman. They do their thing with the foreman. So now you see, now when something happens, the architect and the structural engineer will not be there to see. Then you also have maybe alterations or additions to existing structures.
Correct.
Maybe there's a building that was initially it was designed for 3 floors.
Yes.
So even when the engineer was doing the structural drawings or the foundation, it was done for 3 floors.
Yes.
But then 10 years down the line, the client comes and says, you know what, let me add like 5 floors on top of it. So you see, it sort of adds more load to the building.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and then others you find maybe due to natural disasters such as wind, floods. For example, now currently what we're experiencing these past 3 weeks. And then the last one, which is like specific to Kiambu, we have the lack of geotechnical information, mainly about the underlying soil, because you find Kiambu was previously an agricultural land.
Correct.
Right.
So now right now when buildings are starting to come up, we find that this soil was aerated too much because of the fertilizers, and now the soil is deep. And then you just come, then you put buildings there and you put them with the same foundation that you'd put them on different land.
Yes.
So maybe a way of mitigating this would be, instead of using like strip foundation, you use pad foundation for the soils that are loose.
Yeah.
All
right. Yeah, because you even find like places like as you've mentioned, Kiambu, maybe say Murang'a, unapata like digging a hole is not a big deal per se, you know, but when you go to somewhere like Ngong, kuna mawe, like literally before you go 2 feet under, it's quite something, you know. So you find that also the terrain of the area is also very important to look at.
Yes.
Wow. And I love what you said, that it's important for the architect and the engineer to work hand in hand with throughout. Yeah, like it's not just the design phase, umetupatia wewe kazi yako, thank you very much, it's been real, alafu wanaenda kwa wengine. They need to work together, because at the end of the day there's something that the architect will notice, that kuna mahali mmechange mahali, and this is not what we had ideally agreed upon. I think that is really, really important to note, in case you're out there, you are planning to also venture into maybe building your own, constructing your own building. I think it's very, very important to note that. And because it's quite sad that, you know, this is something that can be avoided if only we ensure that we do what is right during this phase.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there checks that are made during each and every process, or is that why all these guys need to be together at that time?
Yes. There are those like checks and also like approvals that need to be done throughout the process, throughout the design stage process,
right?
So that even before a building is ready for occupation, there's that approval, the certificate of occupation that you get from the county.
Yes.
After inspection, the county has come, inspected, found that the building is fit for stay. Then now that's when now people now start coming in. But then you find some of the times people don't do that. They don't go through that whole process. Yeah, and now it's because of also lack of consultants, lack of consulting with these people. Yeah, like, so you find reasons like that. They sort of, how do I say this? They sort of like they skip that particular step, which is very, very crucial and very important. And also I think knowledge, probably there's someone who doesn't have, I believe we know that we're supposed to follow some, you know, approvals and permits and whatnot.
Yes.
But again, I think there's some people who hauna your knowledge.
See, Skyward Mungu amenipatia property ya kutosha. Why am I stopping at 3 floors?
True. So I think that is also something, because you're like, it's my piece of land. If I want to put up a mud house, niko na mawe mbili tatu hapa, I want to, you know, I see also information is very, very important. Information is power. Knowledge is power, because once you get to know, at least you'll know how to go about it. Now, it's so interesting because not many individual homes, or like, for example, nyumba za kukaa za watu, like an individual home, not most of them collapse. Ideally, it is most residential apartments.
Yes.
Is there a specific reason? Is it that inatumika na watu wengi, so it needs to be maintained in a certain way? It's like the same way, for example, when you're using a lift needs to occasionally be maintained because inatumika na watu wengi. Like throughout the entire day, it's being opened, it's being closed, so it needs to be maintained. So is it the same thing with residential apartments or homes that need to be maintained a bit more often than just an individual home, and it's just a 4-bedroom apartment, nyumbani mnakaa as a family and something like that?
Not really, because this is because residential apartments, they are bigger than residential homes.
Correct.
So now, therefore, they're exposed to more loads such as we have winds, we have occupants, we have water tanks, and we have furniture. And, you know, like, for example, if it's a 5-story building, and in this 5-story building, there are like 4 homes per floor.
Yes.
On average, if you say, for example, there are 4 people in that house, that gives you 4 times 4, 16 times 5, you get like 80 occupants in that one building. So like all those loads combined, you find if there's any undersizing or any underdesigning of maybe columns, the foundations, the beams, it causes the foundation itself, it can easily lead to failure.
Yes.
Because you've not taken into consideration, because when the drawings were being done and when the engineer was doing the structural, he took all that to consideration. But then maybe because of 1 or 2 factors, maybe the contractors, maybe the clients have decided to go past it. So now that leads to failure over time.
Wow, that is interesting. I never thought about it that way. That you come with your 10 kilos of sofa set, mwingine akona zake 20. By the time we put it on this building, it has to take up that weight.
It has to take up all that
wow.
weight.
Now that you've said that, then what happens with a building that was probably constructed in the 1960s, and they were assuming whatever will be put in will be of this load? Now we are in the 2020s. Things are heavier loaded up. So now, how do you consider that?
Now, when a building is being constructed, you take to account that of the maximum load that is going to be put there. When the reinforcement is being done, it's done to hold the maximum amount of load that it can be able to hold that the building itself. So that regardless of the furniture, if you come and bring in loads, or if you come and bring in like kidogo, it won't affect the building itself. Yeah.
So meaning it's like there's an overspill, like nile, this is the maximum and this is the minimum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fantastic. Awesome.
Another question. Now when you have those buildings that have 4 floors, mtu alieka 1970 na ni residential huko nyumbani, what legal measures are followed up such that this person 10 years or 20 years later ataongeza 3? What happens? How do people check those guys who want shortcuts to build over the building?
Now, there's those, you see that these approvals, that these first of all, there are approvals that one needs to get to be able to put up a building.
Correct.
Right.
One is the county approval, whereby the county has to approve the architectural and structural engineer drawings. And then next you have NEMA for the environmental purposes.
Correct.
Yes.
Then after that you go to NCA, the National Construction Authority, since they're the ones who regulate the contractors. And then finally you have the certificate of occupation that is now done once it's constructed. Now once it has been constructed, whenever these construction, like for example the way you've said addition of other floors, kuongeza, the county will need to come and ask. They will come to site. They always visit sites that are being constructed, and they ask for the approvals.
Right.
Like, where are the approvals? If fine, you said you want to add, where is the approval to show? And even like the architectural drawings to show that the architect initially designed this, but now there's an addition to this that he has also done.
And it has also been approved.
It has also been approved.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
All right.
because failure to which then the site needs to be shut down, closed off till you get the approvals.
The approval.
Yeah.
Because again, I mean, adding means that, for example, if it's what is it called? Waste. What is it called? That piping.
Yeah, the
there's
drainage.
That's a word. Plumbing,
Electricity.
Like, there's a lot to think about, because again, yes, you're putting up, but again, that means more occupants. That means more drainage.
Yes.
That means more wiring and all these
And
other
also
things.
more load on
on the building.
itself.
Wow. Hey, today is the day to learn, guys. Today is the day to learn. And even as we continue learning, we'd like to bring you up to speed with something. As we come back, we're going to be chatting more about, for example, what are some of the things, who are some of the people we need to look for before we start this journey of building? Like, how much time are we supposed to take? Kwa planning tu, kwa sababu kuna mtu anasema niko na shamba, all I want is a building in the next 2 months.
Yes.
It doesn't work like that. Hata nyumba ya 1 room itakuwa 2 months kujenga.
96.9 FM Pearl Radio.